In today's episode, we'll be taking KITT out to Sacramento Raceway to do some shakedown passes, naturally aspirated, and get the 60-foot down. All right, we just went through tech inspection. We've got a little bit of critiques, but they're letting us go through. So we need new belts. We just put in the belts, but because this build took so long, they are on expiry, even though they're brand new. So we got to replace them. We needed the battery cutoff showing. So we've taken the plate off so that it shows. So back here, they need to be able to see it so they can turn off the vehicle. And then additionally, a new rule came up that all vehicles with nitrous or boost have to have a engine diaper or pan, so we're gonna have to add that in the near future. Jason,
what's up?
Tell me how we're looking. Are you excited?
Yeah, we're good. We should just, as long as we can get down A to B, we don't have any problems, we're gonna be fine.
Okay.
We just gotta get the fire safety open just in case, and then we have the small extinguisher over there.
So we have a full shroud hail-on system, and then we have a small hail guard system.
Yep.
Fire extinguisher over there, just in case.
Yep. And then purge the bottles, no leaks. Everything's looking fine. So we're just gonna test the chute so you can practice putting it away, and then make sure all the cables and everything works. We're not gonna need the chute for the quarter, so there's absolutely no need for it. But we're just gonna run it just for shits and giggles.
Oh, absolutely.
But everything else is looking fine on the car. So all we gotta do is see what we can do with the 275s.
Speaking of which, we gotta drop the PSI on those.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it down to 25, and as long as we don't have any wheel spin, we can go to 20. John says we can run 20, so we'll see. We'll start with 25. As long as we don't break them loose in second gear, we should be doing all right.
So we're doing our first pass. We're doing NA, and we're doing it on the street high-speed setup. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about it, see how the car performed. Either we're going to do another pass on these wheels and tire combo, because this is similar to what we'll run on the half mile and mile, or we're going to switch to the drag pack and drop some weight. Just depends.
At least the drags for the rear. We don't necessarily. We didn't
We didn't bring the skinnies.
That's fine anyways. It's not a big deal. We don't need the skinnies up front. So
yeah.
As long as we can put the slicks in the back, because I want to see how much that rear end, those coilovers are going to allow that rear end to drop, so we don't have any tire rubs. But everything was tested at the shop, but we should be fine. So.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back in the line. Again, we went through tech inspection, so we're going to line up, and then we're going to wait for the EMT to show up, and then we can run.
They're here.
All right.
They should be right about here.
Okay.
Gonna heat up those tires right now. That thing's a monster. Bammo. That's how you do that.
All right, we're having some traction issues. We tried to play with the 275s for as long as possible, but it's not going. We're gonna see if we can break in the Hoosiers. The line lock is just not working with the ABS system, so I don't know. The line lock's not holding enough pressure. It's not locking up the front end, so we're just gonna try a second gear dump and stay in the water box rather than pulling out. See if we can get it to go. Launching it at $2,000, it's staying solid, but it's just, it can't get the 0 to 60 under 2, so it's, we'll see. We still haven't even ran nitrous, so if it doesn't go A to B with full traction, we're not even gonna turn the nitrous on yet. But let's see what the Hoosiers do.
And torque to spec?
Yeah.
What? Hulk smash spec?
It's called 4 Ugga.
So it looks like they're cleaning up the track. We'll see if we can get another pass. We have an hour left before they shut down.
forward, darling. Bump forward, watch your back.
Unfortunately, one of the vehicles spilled coolant on one of the lanes. While the track officials cleaned up the track, it was unavailable to race. By the time they were done, we only were able to get one pass down the track with the slicks. The PSI was set to 14, a little low. We'll be returning this Wednesday to dial the vehicle in even further. We'll continue to do that as we prepare for Shift S3ctor and the Texas Mile. Alright, so we're addressing the line lock. So when we went to the track, the line lock's engaging, the solenoid is clicking over, but there's not enough pressure to hold back the vehicle. So we did the second gear burnout. The burnout was a little bit better, but it'd be nice if we could keep the vehicle stationary during the burnout. So we're looking into that. Additionally, during tech inspection, a couple of things were found. So one, the belts on this vehicle were brand new when this project was started for this iteration. They're only good by NHRA standards for 2 years. And so the date on it is December 20. If you can see that. So they're expired. I can run them at airstrip racing, but I can't run them at NHRA events. So I'll probably just sell them to an off-roader that wants some 5 or 6 point harnesses for their vehicle so they don't fall out of the vehicle when it rolls over. Additionally, the seat needs to be attached to the cage, so we're going to add a bracket there. And then lastly, nitrous and turbo motors now require a engine diaper, so that prevents engine fluids from getting on the track if they blow up. So they let us pass without it. I've ordered one. We're gonna go to Sac Raceway on Wednesday and then ask for forgiveness because we don't have time to install it before Wednesday. So hopefully Rick is pretty cool about it. I'll show him that it's ordered, and we'll have new belts, and the seat will be bracketed in, so hopefully he allows us to run. Goal Wednesday is to get our 60 foot down and then start ramping in the nitrous plate. Once we get that down, we'll start using the direct port, but I'm gonna have to let out in third and not go into fourth so that we don't go faster than 10s in the quarter, because my cage is only certified for up to 9.99. I'd need a 8 point instead of a 6 point in order to go faster, and we didn't do that because this is a T-top and we wanted to conserve that bit of this vehicle's identity. Anything to add, Jason?
Not really. We just gotta get this thing up to deck a little bit better and then see if we can figure out this line lock. Worst case scenario, we don't have rebuild parts, so we can probably order one faster than we can rebuild it.
What you saying, Hurst? You've had a lot of experience with Hurst.
Well, a lot, yeah, drag race. I know a couple people that have had those Hurst solenoids since like the 90s. They're like, I've never taken one apart. And then hundreds of other people that are like, oh yeah, we service them every year. We keep the kits in stock and stuff like that. So,
okay.
You know, a line lock's a line lock at the end of the day, but if it's not working, there's usually only two things, you know, not enough amperage, something's messed up inside, or the brakes aren't bled enough. Since this is all a brand new system, we're gonna go through it again. I've bled these little ones twice, but I have had it before to where they kind of didn't. And we did not spend a whole crazy amount of time bedding the brakes. Normally I bed them a little bit longer, so maybe we will, and then remember it sat, so we had some rust on them.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll put the dingle ball on them on both sides of the rotor, and then maybe try and knock the glaze off the pad for that little issue that we had.
Yeah.
And then hopefully get a new seat on it. But it doesn't feel like the pads are rolling through. It just feels like there's not enough pressure. So I'm not crazy concerned about that side of it. I just think it would help. So ideally, if we can get it fixed enough to where we can get a good burnout, it would be a lot better, because those slicks, I mean, they need to be broken in. That little burnout that you did, and obviously up the pressure on them, just wasn't quite enough. So
it hooked, but
I mean, it definitely. I mean, it was able to bog the motor down at full throttle, you know, at 3,000 RPM launch in first gear. So they definitely worked, but they got squirrely on the top end because we weren't running enough pressure. You know, we ran them way too low for this setup. So
that was a unique experience. I'm sure I could get
feels
used
like
to it.
It feels like it looked like you had zero traction all the way down the track, but you actually never spun.
Nope.
It was just the tire versus the bead lock and it being so sloppy. And that's
It just felt like my butt was going back and forth.
That's why a lot of the newer car guys, you know, mostly the Dodge guys, they're all running ETs because the radials are just so much better than running old school style slicks. But the old school styles stick so much more. So
yeah, we'll run ETs when we go to the airstrip most likely.
Oh yeah, for sure, because you can't take that bead lock over, you know, 140. 140 is when it's really, no matter what PSI is, when it gets really sketchy. So we're trying not to play with that. But right now,
the bead lock or the bias play?
The bias play.
Bias play. Yeah, I was like the bead
lock's fine. The bead lock will run as much as you can. We run the bead locks, even the two pieces on the rock crawlers, over 100 miles an hour if you got the motor for it. But even bead locks like this we run for the off-road stuff is you know, it's usually good as long as it's not like a well-done cheapy kit.
Yeah.
But off-road doesn't matter. I mean, you're doing pretty good off-road if you're doing 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, so essentially this is a street setup, and then we have a drag pack, and then we'll have a modified setup for going airstrip racing. We're going to mini tub this and put in some 30s. So we ran 28s. We'll get 28s dialed in, and then we'll add 30s, which will give us a little bit more.
Well, it was actually even pretty impressive that even at 20 PSI, these never spun, because I think if we called BC Forge, we could have told them to put knurling in there.
There is knurling.
Oh, there is on this? Oh,
On
that's
both.
why they didn't spin.
Yep, on
Okay,
both
perfect.
sides. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we spun the tire, but not the tire in the wheel.
Yeah, the tire didn't spin in the wheel. We just spun it, so it stayed connected, and even as low as we went all the way down to 20, I think.
Yeah.
We went down to 20 PSI. We started 25, and then we made the last hit at 20.
Yeah,
and it never spun. So
Sam Stranos, you can thank him for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's a really nice squared setup. I would like some more poke in the rear, but I think it actually works very well with it being squared setup like this. I think it's nice.
Yeah, I think 295 might be the way to go for the street setup when these wear.
Yeah, it definitely would be. I'd be curious to see how much bulge the 295 has versus the 275. Because, I mean, even with this rim size, I've seen people put a 305 on it, but they kind of poke out quite a bit. I've seen a lot of Challengers and Chargers with the 305 on this width. But we're getting close to the link on the inside, so it just depends. I think if we put a 295 on it, since it's a cheaper, easy, readily available tire, if we get tight to the link at that point, we know that we can't go to a 305 on the street setup at least. At least not without changing the studs and possibly putting like a 20 mil in there.
Yeah.
But with your horsepower and on the nitrous hit, I'd rather not. The roll racing stuff is fine, but hitting off the line, I'd rather not have extended studs and a spacer versus just having a direct connection.
I was impressed. The Camaro versus Camaro race we had, the drop at, I think I did 1500 RPM, 13.8 quarter mile.
Yeah.
But it spun first, second a little bit.
It spun first, second, and it chirped third.
And fourth.
And if it was, it definitely chirped fourth too. Yeah. And if it was at normal street pressure, you probably would have spun through third.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's all NA too. So I mean, you're probably well into getting close to 600 at the tire NA.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, even with the 150 shot being progressive through first and second, it would help out of the line when we put the bead locks on. And try and push through it, but we just got to figure out that line lock. If we can figure out that line lock and quit worrying about that, then we can be able to push the car a little bit harder. But I still think probably this Wednesday we probably still won't even run the direct injection right off the intake. We'll probably because we don't want to piss them off and not have the girdle underneath there, or sorry, the diaper, not have the diaper on the block, and then we know nothing's gonna happen. The motor's built, but shit does happen. So if we grenade that track and piss everybody off 3 weekends before they shut down, I don't want to be that guy.
Well, ironically, wasn't it like some beater car that blew up their
Volvo
cooler
or something? And it just blew a radiator hose, but still, you're not. Don't go to the track with antifreeze, people. Please don't. Just put water in there with water wetter, distilled water and water wetter, and then if you want to switch back to antifreeze, you're fine. We're out here in Cali, man. You don't need antifreeze most of the time, especially with the race cars. Just put water in there so you don't piss off the track officials. You know, shit like that happens all the time. There's that beautiful Resto Mod 69 Camaro. I mean, that thing was pristine. Literally staged on the line after a burnout, and it overheated and puked a bunch of water on the track. Cleaned up in 10 minutes, no problem. Out per burnout, then they're making runs right after that. So, but with the glycol and the antifreeze, it's just not good.
Oh, you got to wipe the whole track down.
Wipe the whole track down, resurface right there on the staging lines. It's even worse when it's right off the line because that's where everybody's making the hit. You break traction right there. if you've ever poured antifreeze on the ground, it's actually quite slippery. You know, it's not, it doesn't just dissipate into the concrete like a water does, or even with water wear. So.
That's why we only got the one pass on the bias plies.
Yeah, because that track was messed up just a little bit.
It was like,
so.
I think it was an hour to clean it up. It was like...
Yeah, it was well into an hour, and they ran the track a little late, not for us, but for everybody, because they were just trying to be nice. So they ran out to like, I think 9:30. Yeah. Shoot, we were still putting the covers away and they shut the lights off on us while we were trying to pack up and go home.
Dwayne showed up. I was like, who is this guy? He's saying, could you guys please leave so I can lock up?
So we'll probably be out there late again this Wednesday and see what happens. Truck Mania was this weekend. It was actually a pretty cool event, but a lot of younger folks and burnout box and a lot of stuff that was fun up there. So
all right, more to follow. We'll be recording this Wednesday and I'll be posting content. Random facts of the day.
The first generation Camaro was released in 1967, and it took everything that was great about Chevy's aggressive new styling in the Impala and Chevelle and turned that shit up to 11. It had a recessed grille, innovative front and rear fenders, and was available with a 6.5-liter V8. With the Super Sport, Rally, and Z28 packages, the Camaro from its inception has been associated with performance. Ah yes, the iconic Z28 performance package. We've all seen it, but what does it mean? Nothing. It's just the internal Chevy RPO code for the package. Doesn't mean anything. Cars are fun.